Hey, how's it going? How are you? Last video, I had a little bit of a moment. It was like an emotional day. And you know what's really interesting about watching that video back is I could see myself masking. I could see myself trying to stop myself from feeling the feelings that I was feeling. And I could see myself try to, you know, eliminate vulnerability. It was really interesting watching that video back. And I think one thing I wrestled with even posting it, to be honest, for week 5, because it felt uncomfortable to be vulnerable. And it felt uncomfortable to be vulnerable in I don't know, in like a footage and whatever. But I'm really glad that I did it. And yeah, it's been a few weeks since I posted that last video. I ended up taking an extra week on week 5 because it definitely spurred up some things. I ended up taking an extra week on week 5, which was all about recovering a sense of possibility and seeing how, man, in what ways in my life am I limiting a sense of possibility for myself? And it turns out there were a lot of ways. Like in my reflections and my morning pages and just things that I was experiencing. And so, yeah, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back to therapy because there's something here that I'm limiting myself. I didn't, right after I took an extra week on week 5, I went into week 6 and I finished that out. So I want to do the recap for week 6 and give you the insights because I'm technically on week 7 now. And yeah, there's been really good stuff. That's just a nice move forward. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this series, I guess, was I just want those moments of blockages to come up and for the bubble to burst and for me to understand and see where I'm limiting myself, how I'm limiting my own creativity and my own creation. So it was really cool for that to come up and for me to see it. And obviously it doesn't feel good in the moment. It feels very emotional. But in my last video, we're talking about this sense of connection and community, which frankly actually hasn't been as big of a priority at other phases of my life. And it's been like this escalation to where I am now, to me realizing how much I limit myself from connecting with people and how there's so much like fear and so much, all these limiting beliefs about myself and my self-worth that I limit myself. I've limited the essence of possibility in terms of my connections with others and really like devaluing myself, right? And it goes really hand in hand with week 6, which we're going to go through, which is all about, she says, recovering a sense of abundance. And first in week 5, she's talking about just thinking that it's possible, thinking that you have a spot on the bus. And then when you pray or when creativity strikes, you're just running to catch that bus. But you first have to believe that you have a spot there. And yeah, I think that that's been a big hurdle for me, is just the feeling of feeling worthy enough, feeling deserving enough, feeling like I have a spot, and not even like, I don't know, the first thing I think of is like when you buy an airplane ticket, like I paid for this ticket, I deserve a spot, but just inherently having a seat at the table. Yeah, let's get into week 6. Really good week. I didn't read the preface last week, so I'll do it this time. This week, you will tackle a major creative block, money. You are asked to really look at your own ideas around God, money, and the creative abundance. The essays will explore the ways in which your attitudes limit abundance and luxury in your own life. You'll be introduced to counting, a block-busting tool for clarity and right use of funds. This week may feel volatile. I actually don't feel like this week felt volatile for me because I felt like, week 5 was volatile for me. And I feel like that was a big block that I was able to release. And yeah, I'm just excited, to just continue diving deeper into releasing whatever blocks that are preventing me from expressing creativity and life through me. The first section of this chapter, she talks about the great creator being our source of abundance, really. So in relation to how it was last week with this sense of possibility and deserving, I've been reflecting on internally within me feeling enough for the abundance that I seek in my life, and then finding abundance within me. Like whatever I'm seeking to experience externally, how can I feed that within me internally? So for instance, if I'm looking for a sense of connection, how can I find that sense of connection within me? And then of course, externally it'll reflect, or maybe not. It actually doesn't matter, because then when you find that sense of connection within yourself, whatever you're looking to seek, like abundance, maybe financial abundance, how can I find that sense within me? And then it actually doesn't even matter if it comes externally or not, because when you feel it internally, that is, you feel complete. You feel good. You feel good in the situation. You're not operating from a place of lack. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. Some of my favorite quotes that she has on here is talking about how we're reluctant to put our faith into God for our creativity. We think I'll pursue my creativity when I have enough money to do so. Well, when will that be? When will we ever have enough, right? One of my favorite things she says is, we want a God that feels like a fat paycheck and a license to spend as we please. Listening to the siren song of more, we are deaf to the still small voice waiting in our soul to whisper, "You are enough." Ooh, what a great sentence. I think we've all been there. And I think that's something I always hold on to, is just how can I feel complete within me? Again, tapping into the abundance within me and to feel like I have enough. I am enough. If I'm operating from this place of wanting more, I will never feel satisfied because I'll always want more. So how can I feel okay within me? Some other things she says, we cling to our financial concerns as a way to avoid not only our art, but our spiritual growth. What a great sentence, because there are times when, at least for me, there have been times where I've had to make a big financial investment into something. And the best example I have is actually yoga. Becoming a yoga teacher, it was I had to shell out, X amount of money to take this yoga teacher training. And it almost stopped me at first. I was like, I don't want to spend this much money right now, even though I had the money, which was really funny. I had the money in my savings account. It was right there. It's not going anywhere. It's in my savings. But I was nervous to spend that much money, and it turned out being the best decision I've ever made. Spending that money and taking this course, which was an investment in myself, in my creativity, in my growth, that has been just the best experience for me, because I've been able to tap into my creativity in a way that will bring more abundance into my life. That currently brings a lot of abundance into my life. So sometimes that's been something that I've been kind of slowly melting, is what ways am I stopping myself from the fear of not having enough money? And in what ways am I limiting my creativity because of this fear? And that's been a big one, especially this past year. This is why I decided this year I'm going to remove all my sources of friction. Maybe not all of them, but as many as I can think of that are preventing me from creating. And if it means if I need a camera to be able to create, to feel comfortable in creating, then I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to go into my savings and I'm going to get a camera. If I feel like there are things that would make it easier for me to be the type of creator that I want to be, then I'm going to invest in that, because it's not like my video editing software. I didn't need to get the upgrade, but I wanted it because I wanted to make my life easier. I wanted to remove the friction point for creativity, knowing full well that my creativity provides abundance for me, even if it's a delayed effect, even if it's maybe not right there. I consider it to be an investment in myself that will yield, if nothing but my own personal enjoyment. So that's been a big focus of mine this year, is like, how am I limiting myself by saying no to myself, by operating from a place of lack? And again, like, we all do this. Like, I don't think this is anything someone is like, I've never done that in my life. We all do this. It's so interesting. Yeah. She has this prompt about writing about the God that you want to believe in versus the God that you do believe in. And on the tail end of that, she talks about all these forms of like abundance, and the fact that God will provide for us, which is the great creator will provide. One of the quotes she says, creativity is not and has never been sensible, but if we take care of God's business, he will take care of ours. And I reflected a lot on that, because the God that I believe in versus the God that I want to believe in as it relates to abundance and prosperity is, I had to come to like reconciliation with the fact that the God that I believe in right now, and I'm not saying this is what I want to believe, obviously, but I feel like sometimes God wants me to suffer. Sometimes I feel like God just wants me to suffer. Like, God wants me to suffer for no reason other than just for the sake of suffering. Like truly, that's how I feel sometimes. Even though, I don't know, I won't play devil's advocate on that, because I see there are so much abundance in my life, but sometimes I just feel like it's needless suffering. And I actually reflect on that a lot, because I know Eckhart Tolle, something that he speaks on is suffering is like the flint and steel for spiritual growth, because sometimes in your, I don't know, I guess evolution stage, I feel like it's not a linear kind of a stage, or sometimes where you're at in your spiritual growth is that you need the suffering to awaken, right? And so I feel like and again, it's a matter of perception, but I feel like I've suffered a lot. And a lot of it was actually just me internally suffering, torturing myself. Like, not even like the situation. It was just like my thoughts about the situation caused my own suffering. And so I almost have this limiting belief that God wants me to suffer so that I can grow spiritually. And Eckhart Tolle says at some point you reach a point where suffering is no longer your teacher. Suffering is still there, but it's no longer what expands your spiritual growth. And I feel like, I think maybe the sheer fact that I have the desire to want to release suffering as my teacher is probably a good indicator that I'm moving towards another form of experience to be my teacher. And I'd like that experience to be abundance. Like, I'd love to experience it makes me emotional thinking about it, but I'd love to experience God and all the abundance that God has to provide and the great creator has to provide. I want to experience that, you know? And I'm sure there are other ways. There are other ways to expand. And I feel like I agree with Eckhart Tolle that our purpose on life is to awaken. That's what the spirit wants. It wants to recognize itself. And there are a million and one ways to do that. And I've just been really reflecting on how I want more abundance in my life. And I want to tap into all the possibilities of what God is capable of. Yeah. This goes in alignment too with just this concept that I had in my affirmations, my artist affirmations, that God is my employer. The universe is my employer. And my creativity stems from my enjoyment, my happiness, the abundance of joy, right? Not from the abundance of suffering. The abundance of joy is what creativity stems from. And yeah, that's what I really want to tap into. In the next section, she's talking about luxury. And sometimes we feel like luxury only shows up in one form, like money. But I love that she brings up the concept, and even through some of the tasks, she brings up the concept of finding luxury and finding abundance, even just through nature. Like putting rocks in your pocket just to feel how many there are, and knowing there are a million more rocks, billions more rocks out there. Even leaves, she talks about collecting leaves and noticing and appreciating all this abundance that we maybe take for granted in our lives or in our everyday life. Yeah. When it comes to abundance and feeling blocked, she says, all too often we become blocked and blame it on our lack of money. And this is never an authentic block. The actual block is our feeling of constriction and our sense of powerlessness. Art requires us to empower ourselves with a choice. At the most basic level, this means choosing to do self-care. And this is actually really what this course for me is all about. Like this big desire to create more is me taking my power back. Like me feeling tired of, and I've mentioned this before, of feeling stuck, of feeling like I'm not going anywhere, and feeling really blocked. And yeah, this was such a great statement because it reminds me that there's always a choice, and even just taking one step in a direction and you don't know where you're going, just building up the momentum to start walking somewhere and trusting that the forces that be will kind of bumper you into where it wants you to go or where you want to go or whatever. Like, that's kind of what this course is for me, is empowering myself. And this is a form of self-care, right? Because we're going on these artist dates, nurturing our artist. And this is self-care for me. This is me honoring myself. And giving myself the luxury of exploring my creativity. She even talks about, some examples of people limiting their own sense of luxury and the luxury of time. I want to give myself the luxury of time to be present with these creative moments and to express, to have a good time. Anything can feel luxurious. To me, like, luxury is a sense of calm. When I think of luxury, I think of just feeling at peace, feeling like my needs are taken care of, feeling like I am calm and poised, and I have the internal space within me to handle anything, even amidst a storm. To me, luxury is the calm and the sanity and the peace of mind to collect myself and move forward with a sense of clarity. And that's really important to me. Because there are tons of times when it's like, in work and life and other people's, I don't know, even sometimes other people's energies, I feel like there's this franticness to it. And to me, like, true luxury is, at the root of it is that sense of calm and that sense of stability internally. Because that's what I think all, like, money or all these forms of luxury, that's what I think it'll give me, It's like, okay, you want money. Why? Why do you want money? Well, because I want to pay my bills. What feeling are you looking to resolve by paying your bills so that I don't feel stressed? Okay. Then what's the opposite of feeling stressed? Feeling calm, feeling secure, feeling safe, feeling like your needs are met. Yeah. Lately, I've just, in terms of like the sense of abundance and reflecting, I've been asking myself, what is it that I'm looking for in igniting a sense of abundance? Because I do feel like my needs are met. I feel safe. I feel like lately I've been actually feeling like a sense of constriction in terms of financial abundance. I feel like lately I've been feeling like I don't have enough, like I'd like more. And when I get down to the root of the constriction that I'm feeling inside and how I want to feel, I actually feel like what I truly desire is, of course, there's, the element of financial abundance and me wanting to feel the luxury of calm. But more than that, I really want to feel more of an energy flow that is in alignment with the full spectrum of abundance and luxury, because that comes in so many ways, right? What I'm really looking for and looking to ignite is a greater capacity to flow energy through me, into me, and through me, because it's a wash. It's a cyclical nature. In order to receive abundance, you have to express abundance. In order to receive all of the universe through you, you have to express it. And I think that is, the focus of this is for me to express more. I want to express and release abundance in the universe through me. And so, yeah, I've been really focused on that, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't say I've been focused in terms of action, but that's what I'm really hoping to bring in to this situation and bring into my life. And that's what it's all about, baby. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And I think from there, it's also about like reminding myself that I deserve, I am worthy, like reminding myself of the inherent worth of abundance in all its forms, because ultimately, like, I am the God essence, like we all are the God essence that abundance is, the ultimate source. So how can I like release attachments to specific items, things, situations, blah, 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 and just tap into abundance? Yeah. I've been very good with my morning pages. I do them at least 5 days a week, at least. On the weekends, I'll try and get it in too, but my routine's a little different on the weekends. I missed a week for my artist date, actually. So I missed maybe 2 weeks, but I went back on my artist date yesterday, gave myself like a little spa day at the gym. Just kind of a cop out, but I really enjoyed it. I went to the sauna. It was a nice treat. And then I started already reading week 7, but let's get into the synopsis. Week 7 is all about recovering a sense of connection. Wow, that's beautiful. I love the synchronicities of that topic because that's something that's important to me, as we learned. All right, we turn this week to the practice of right attitudes for creativity. The emphasis is on your receptive as well as active skills. The essays, exercises, and tasks aim at excavating areas of genuine creative interest as you connect with your personal dreams. What a beautiful topic. I guess the recovering a sense of connectivity or connection with your creative interests is maybe the focus, but it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. Okay. We back, baby. I'll see you next week. Bye.